Welcome back to a new review on this channel, and hopefully you're still sticking around and watching my videos. I know the last video I didn't get a lot of views, but you know, sometimes you can win some and you can lose some. But anyway, today's is a horror film, and it seems like I get more views on horror reviews than I do non-horror. But I've already done the first 3 of these films, and I figured, you know, since I'm pretty knowledgeable when it comes to this franchise, and that, like many of people that do watch this probably are very knowledgeable as well. But this is Friday the 13th, the final chapter, even though we all know that it's not the final chapter. But Friday the 13th, the final chapter, is, to me, one of the quintessential films that could actually have ended the entire series if they did not want to go on and do any more films. It could have been the last film, the way the story went, because they went right from each 1 to 2 to 2 to 3 to 3 to 4, and it could have just ended. You had a really great performance by the late Ted White, who plays Jason, even though I believe in the credits he did not get billed for this role. I know that on Internet Movie Database and other websites says that he has played Jason. We all know he played Jason. He, to me, was definitely in the top 5 greatest performers to play Jason Voorhees. This film came out in 1984, which is almost 40 years ago. And it's crazy that this entire franchise series is over 40-some years old and still continues to thrill and excite, and they get the enjoyment out of all the horror fans that love this franchise and love this character. Friday the 13th, the final chapter, was one of the first 4 films that I got to see for the first time, because you may have seen in other videos, I was allowed to watch horror films, but they had to be like a PG or PG-13 rating. I did sneak and see Demons in 1986, so that was the first R-rated horror film that I saw, and it's probably one of the reasons why it's my #1 film, but there's other reasons for that. And I got to see the first 4 Friday the 13th in 1989, so it's been like 33 years since I saw the first 4 Friday the 13th, and to me, they all have their own distinctive film. They have their own distinctive storyline and their own distinctive reasons why people like them as much. This one, for me, is definitely in the top 5 of the franchise, and it's because of the performances by Kimberly Beck and Corey Feldman and Crispin Glover and Judy Aronson and the twins Carrie and Camilla Moore, Eric Anderson, the mother that played Tommy Jarvis, that was Joan Freeman, and also you have great performances by not so big roles in the film, like Fackler from the Police Academy. He plays the coroner guy. He played a really outrageous character in the film, and he can show that he's definitely got that craziness about him, as you've seen in the multiple Police Academy films that he was in. And you have other great performances in the film. I mean, you have a very small role by what's his name? His name is escaping me at the moment, but he actually went on to play in Leatherface's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He's a great character actor. He's only seen in like 1 part of the film. But the storyline is really cool because Tom Savini, who did the makeup for the first Friday the 13th, comes back to kill off Jason. And in the first movie, he did the makeup for the Jason that you see in like Dreams or towards the end of the film when he pops out of the lake. And he came back to kill off Jason. Now, as we all know, that when this very successful franchise makes a lot of money, they're going to go on and do another film. So, the final chapter, you could actually call this Friday the 13th Part 4 instead of calling the final chapter. But anyway, it is what it is. And the final chapter is a really great film it is definitely, like I said, it's definitely in my top 5. Now, this was a movie that I had knowledge of who Corey Feldman was, as a lot of people who've seen me and know me on Facebook or Instagram know that I was a big Two Coreys fans throughout the 80s and into the 90s. And I had already known who Corey Feldman was, had seen him in Gremlins in 1984 when this film came out. I'd seen him in The Goonies, and I'd seen him in License to Drive and Dream a Little Dream. And so when this came out for me to see, I was like, yeah, that's cool. Corey Feldman's in the film, and he did a great performance as the young Tommy Jarvis, and that he actually comes up again in the 5th movie as kind of like a dream. So Tommy Jarvis is in 4, 5, and 6 was probably one of the most beloved characters, as you can see in a lot of the fan films that they've made over the past 5-10 years. They keep continually bringing Tommy Jarvis, and thank God they actually got Tom Matthews, who played in Part 6, to play a lot of his parts in those films. But the storyline is definitely basic, like most slasher films. You've got a family, you've got a bunch of teenagers, and there's going to be slaughter. So, I mean, yeah, it definitely has its moments where some of it can get downright into the cheesy part of the film. But for me, it's a really great film, and it definitely deserves a lot of fans who have not actually seen this franchise. And I'm sure there's probably a handful that are not fans of the series or have not seen the series. And to me, this is definitely one that needs to be watched. And it has its qualities of being underrated and as well as being a cult classic, if you understand what I'm saying. And Friday the 13th, the final chapter, leads to believe that this could be the last one, like I said when I first started the video. And I was kind of glad that it wasn't, because I wouldn't go on to see one of my favorites of the series, which is Part 6. And, but the crazy dance that Crispin Glover does in that movie, it's crazy. So you have to, Crispin Glover, he's been a very eccentric and character actor. He has done so many different roles and so many different crazy parts that this definitely was pretty much led him into a lot of the characters that he played. I know he played Marty McFly's father in Back to the Future, and he played Willard in the remake to the movie Willard. And he's also played in other films that he's just got that quirkiness about him. And he still, to this day, gets those kinds of parts. Kimberly Beck. She's a great actress. She was a child actor, just like Corey Feldman was, and she progressed from the child actor into a teenager, into an adult actress. And she doesn't do many movies anymore, but her role was very basic. Pretty much just like the older sister trying to say there's nothing out there and stuff like that. But she's a very attractive young lady, and she still is today. You also have a lot of the other attractive ladies in the film. You have Barbara Howard, you have Judy Aronson, you have the twins. You also have the jokester Ted, played by Lawrence Monason, who played in The Last American Virgin and Mask. He's a great actor too. He doesn't do as many roles as he has up into like the late 2000s. But he's a great actor. I always liked The Last American Virgin. That's one thing that I can always remember him from, as well as this. And then you have Alan Hayes. I think he changed his name. He was Clyde Hayes now. He was Alan Hayes, but he was Clyde Hayes now. And he actually went on after this did Neon Maniacs, which is another favorite of mine. A lot of people don't like the movie because of the way they... Anyway, I could go on to a different movie. But Friday the 13th, Friday the 4th, it definitely gets an 8.5 out of 10 on my Richter scale. I like the gore factor of it. There's a lot of gory scenes when Jason comes up out of the corner, opens up that door, and then gets in and cuts that guy's neck, and he twists his head, and then he stabs the nurse, and then kind of like guts her. A lot of that probably was cut. It would really, I think they're on the DVDs and the Blu-rays, there's actually some of the scenes that were cut from the film, but it's not as much as blood, but more like different scenes, especially when Tommy Jarvis's mother, you see her come out of the house, and then all of a sudden she like jumps up, and then you never know what happened to her. But in the deleted scene, you find out she drowned in the bathtub, which, you know, I mean, they already done that in Friday the 13th Part 2 when they couldn't find the one character, so named Paul, and they just kind of left it open. But, you know, it doesn't really bother me as much. It may bother people that like to nitpick certain things in the film. But for me, it was really great. Like I said, I've said many times, I love the storyline, I love the characters, the blood factor. You know, there is nudity in it, so, you know, it's pretty much just like normal. There wasn't any nudity in Part 6, but pretty much most of the Friday the 13th have nudity in it. It's basically kind of like their go-to for each film. It's not like a Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween. It's definitely more of a camp counselor kind of thing, even though this really wasn't in a camp. But all in all, I would definitely recommend Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter. If there is anyone watching this that has not seen it, I'm not going to give away any spoilers. I just want to tell you that, you know, they did go on to make another one, if you don't know that already. And, you know, I do want to thank everyone that does keep continually watching my videos. I'm almost at 15 or 16,000 views over all the 200 and some videos that I've done. Hopefully this gives me a little more views than the last one. I just wanted to do Airborne because I really like that movie. But Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, definitely watch it. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely in the top 5 of my favorites. I've said that once again. Sometimes when you do these kind of things on the fly and you don't script these, you kind of repeat yourself a lot. But thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy my different ways of talking about films, and hopefully I can keep continually do this. And if you ever have any comments, just please leave them down below, and I answer them as soon as I can. And if you have any movies that you want me to review, like I've said before, leave them down in the comments. And thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.